Hey friends. All right. So I have, as promised, the new moon tarot right tarot writing tarot reading for tonight. So I didn't have anyone sign up for personal readings. So what I'm going to do is I am going to do a reading, and it's just for who's ever watching or for the community as a whole. Uh, so anything that I say that resonates with you, hang on to it. And if something I say does not resonate with you, then it wasn't for you, and you can let that go. So tonight, I said new moons are a great time to check in. It's when the moon is completely dark. So this is where we go inside. And we're coming up to the solstice as well. A lot of this is time to go inside and look into ourselves, see what's true for us, and see what maybe is no longer true or perhaps never was true, and perhaps consider letting it go. So let's see what these said. And like I said, if it resonates with you, hang on to it. If it doesn't, let it go. Might be speaking to someone in your life. Might be speaking to an aspect of yourself or a situation. All right. We'll put them out. 2, 3. All right. So we have the High Priestess, the Queen of Swords, and the Eight of Swords reversed. So the High Priestess, here she is. She is the person, the card, the archetype that the Fool encounters second. When he goes off to take his fool's journey, he comes up against the Magician first, and then he goes to see the High Priestess. So this is what the card looks like. Sorry, I'm trying not to get the glare on there. This is what it looks like upright. And it came up in the past position, and it also came up in reversed. So upright, she is someone who patiently waits for things to unravel. She is control and the world around her. There she is. It has a grounding. She feels grounded. She is grounded in logic and full of intuition. But this is the past position, and it came up reversed. Things are hidden behind masks. Many things lie beneath facades and superficial appearances of a situation. Be aware and be ready to take time to unravel mysteries. So the reverse of this card talks about a really reclusive kind of nature. A lot of issues of superficiality, of people putting on different masks and different costumes for an occasion. And what these will hide is generally repressed feelings or things that we don't deem is acceptable to take out into the world. So basically, this is someone who has a mask or is pretending to be something, they might wish they were, or just pretending to be someone that they're not. This can also talk about taking a step back and examining in any situation, just looking at going deeper. You want to look a little deeper. You want to look to what's beyond what's on the surface. So this coming up in the past talks about a situation, or perhaps, an aspect of yourself that was caught up in superficial appearances and how things looked, and maybe not was completely honest or forthright. So moving on to present day, and this is the Queen of Swords, and queens are they're regal, they're They're the feminine archetype of the end of a suit. And swords are about air, they're about thinking, they're about intellect. The Queen of Swords is someone who is charming, she is witty, she is logical. She's a charming conversationalist, but she's cool, quick-witted, stunning, brilliant, intelligence, everything radiates from her. So this card talks about using logic and wit and perception to deal with difficult situations. It talks about not getting necessarily completely caught up in your emotions, and at the end of the day, maybe writing out all the emotions that are going to go and then returning to what you know to be true. So this advises making decisions based on logic. And so this is the future card. It's the 8 of Swords. So 8, 9, 10 of Swords are actually even the 7 too, are just a lot of things coming apart. So you can see here, this is the upright version and this is the reversed version. And when she's in both cases, she is tied up. She's got a blindfold on in the upright, so she's got a blindfold on and some loose ropes and a bunch of swords tied behind her, but the swords, they can't really hurt her. In the reverse, she's taking the blindfold off. So what this card represents is how we can get trapped in our own ways of thinking, with our own masks. And this card in reverse actually reads a little bit better than the upright. In the upright, yes, she's tied. It's not tight, but she's got a blindfold on. She can't see that those swords aren't going to hurt her, and she feels trapped. In the reverse, it's almost the same situation, but this is that moment where she takes off the mask and she's like, oh, and this is that moment, you know, those moments in your life where you kind of lift your head up and say, oh, I've had this all wrong. I've mixed this up. I misunderstood. And I'm just going to pull, oh, this is interesting. Okay, so if we go from, you know, the reverse high priestess, a lot of superficiality, masks, people not necessarily being completely honest. And I just put a bridge card between that and coming into the Queen of Swords, who advises using your intellect, letting, you know, feeling your emotions. So never try to press them down, but then coming back to make a decision when you are not feeling super emotional. And that's, you know, emotionally intense in a positive way or in a negative way. So don't make the decision when you're giddy and happy. Don't make it when you're despondent, angry, or anything like that. And definitely not when you're hungry. So we're coming from a time where things have been less than honest, where there has been superficiality, and it's kind of funny. The high priestess, and you know, talks about wearing masks, and that's what we're all doing. So the card that came in between them is, oh, look, it's the devil. And what the devil is in the tarot deck, he's the 15th card, and he's just another major arcana card that the Fool comes across in his trip. And what I see is we are going to go from, here is mask, superficiality. Here is a devil, and he is all about, I mean, not that there is anything wrong with lust and sensual pleasure, but when the devil shows up in the tarot spread, it's all about getting lost in lust, in pleasures of, you know, whether it's physical pleasure or whether it's, you know, spending a lot of money, or really just getting caught up with things for reasons that aren't authentic, that aren't actually about, being kind to yourself, being kind to others, doing what's good for the world. The devil is all about, let's do what feels good right now. And especially if you're feeling bad, let's do something to numb out that bad feeling, and something that'll just make you feel good tomorrow. You're probably going to feel worse the next day, and you'll have to come back to this behavior. So he's a lot about the behaviors that we do when we're feeling really uncomfortable, and we really don't want to feel uncomfortable anymore. So we all have, and in the worst case scenario, this is where addiction comes from, is just that intense discomfort with being in your own skin and feeling the feelings that are coming up. But it can even be things like, I'm feeling really uncomfortable, I'm going to watch Netflix all night and not think about anything. And on its, once in a while, even a couple times a week, not a big deal. But if you are using certain behaviors, substances, ways of thinking, shopping, gambling, whatever it is, what the devil warns about, when you see this card in here, especially after you're coming, from this insincere, superficial, mask wearing, kind of dishonest period. What I see the devil meaning here is, it's going to be tempting to cope with what was superficial, what wasn't real, what, maybe the devil is the moment where you realize that all that was bullshit. Oh man, this was fake. None of this was actually real. And what I'm seeing is the temptation, or, perhaps even a couple of times where it's just like, you thought about drinking or spending or eating or Netflix, or what, like I said, whatever it is, the behavior that you use to numb out with perhaps got to be a problem where, it's fine every now and then, but whatever this behavior, whenever it becomes your primary mode of dealing with anything that's uncomfortable, then it can get to be a problem, because at this point you are not the one who's in charge of what you're doing. Your addiction, your behavior, whatever it is, becomes the one that's in charge, and that's this guy. And then to sort of come into the Queen of Swords, which talks about not using intense emotions to make a decision, not blocking them, not pretending they don't exist, not numbing out these feelings, but waiting for them to pass, being fully present for them, and knowing that this too will pass. So this is the Wheel of Fortune, not the game show, but the way everything comes around, comes and goes, this too will pass. So if you look at the upright meaning of this guy is confident, he's got the elements, he knows that nothing is permanent, that things will always change, and he is comfortable in surrendering to that knowledge. If you look at the reverse of this is someone who, even as the Wheel of Fortune turns, desperately tries to hold it still or to push it in the direction that they want to go. And so much, you see with this addictive, this energy to not deal with what's actually going on in your life, can pair up quite well with this guy clinging to the wheel and not letting it move forward. But in here, there's a decision to feel your feelings and then make decisions when you're not neck deep in them. And what, we still have the Eight of Swords at the end, and what might come out of this, because, here we have the Empress, the Devil, and then the Eight of Swords. So what I see here is a pattern of thinking that might have been working itself into something that was habit forming or unhealthy. And through, there's always choices here. You don't have to do anything. This is just a sort of a snapshot of the energy that's going around. But letting your emotions pass through you and then making decisions when they're done, knowing that things are always going to change, that things will come around. What you will finally get a look at are the thoughts that where you realize it was like, oh, this really wasn't good for me. This really is not what I should be spending my time doing. And with the Eight of Swords, especially reversed, there will come a moment where you'll be, oh, this isn't going to work. There's going to be a realization. And from that, there's probably going to be some work, maybe letting go of something, maybe, reforming your habits. And you can start, reforming them just in the way that you talk to yourself with basic mindfulness and paying attention to your thoughts and deciding which ones are worth keeping and which ones maybe don't serve you. And then we've got, okay. And then the last card I pulled up to go with this is the King of Wands. There, he's a little slanted now, but at least he's not too shiny. So the King of Wands, as you can tell, he's a charming guy. He's got, he's gold, he's fancy, he's charismatic, he's a little flamboyant. And he's got a dragon. This is a guy that comes into the party dressed to the nines and on a dragon and is just really cool and fun and charismatic. He gets around, not in that negative sense. Don't think like that. He's a bit of a world traveler. So when he comes up, he talks about a positive light coming from most dealings and agreements. So between the Queen of Swords and the King of Wands, what I see is a path through a difficult time where things perhaps felt fake and superficial, where you were tempted to indulge in whatever behavior just makes the uncomfortable feelings go away, if only for a little while. If you were maybe teetering on that behavior becoming unhealthy, there is the opportunity right now in this present, in this new moon, to feel the emotions. Perhaps don't attach as many stories to them. Let them pass through you. Know that things pass. And with the clarity that comes with actually feeling the feelings and maybe getting still, turning off your phone, turning off the computer. Maybe you just go outside with a warm coat and take a couple of minutes of just being, just checking in. What is it that you don't need? What thoughts, behaviors, people, situations do you not need? What can you look at this moon? Where can you get clarity? Where can you, feel your emotions and then find the clarity that comes afterwards and realize what you need to let go and what is going to carry you forward with expansion, with not this heavy fake energy, this heavy fake appearances, superficiality. So I think from this, yeah, and then this guy came up to the Ten of Swords. So what I see is some thinking patterns that maybe in the short term help you deal with some stress. but ultimately long-term will prove to be harmful. There could be a tendency to want to make excuses, to feel like, well, I've got it pretty hard, so I can have this behavior, this whatever it is. So there might be some, thinking about your situation, about yourself, that is less than honest with yourself, that is just skipping along the surface and not digging deep. And like I said, the way through it is you have to let go, let die, burn up, whatever you want, whatever your metaphor, or actually thing that you do. Discover what it is, whatever the thoughts that you have that are not serving you. Untie yourself, let them go. And one of the things for the new moon, if you wanted to do this tonight, is if you sit down and you think, what are these things? Maybe you come up, you journal for 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 10 minutes, and write. Just put your pen to the paper, do not lift it up, just write and see what comes up. See what thoughts come up that maybe have not panned out to be good long-term solutions. Behaviors that helped you deal with something briefly, but were not meant to be carried through. Discover what it is you need to put down. You can write it out on a piece of paper and take it outside in something fireproof, burn it. Scatter the ashes, bury the ashes, flush the ashes. Something that feels symbolic to you, to let go of whatever way of thinking that you might have latched onto with the best of intentions, with, as a way to try to cope with a stressful situation. Discover what you don't need, what you can let go of, and then pick a ritual, write it down, take it outside under the moon, burn it. And then with the ashes, you can sprinkle them in your yard, you can bury them, you can flush them, you can just throw them out. But it's that idea of letting go of the things, these ropes and thoughts and behaviors that you can now see are not serving you, and that it is time to let go so you can move into this new exciting time where hopefully things will start to feel a little more grounded. And even if your situation doesn't change, or say it gets even a little more stressful, finding solid ground in yourself and finding a way to let go of things that ultimately will hurt you, behaviors, thinking patterns that you've indulged till now and are just realizing now that they're destructive. Even if nothing changes around you, if you change how you look at yourself and how you regard your own thoughts and feelings and justifications, by changing what's going on in yourself, you will affect your external world, and you'll also make yourself a little more solid, with a little more grounding, and better able to deal with everything that's going on around you. So I hope that resonated, and if it did, great. If it didn't, let it go. Maybe it was for someone else. If you think someone else might find this interesting, tag them in the post. I will do this next month on the new moon. It's going to be somewhere near January 12th, something like that. So if you want to sign up, you can register for it, and then I pull you into this Zoom meeting and you can ask questions and we can do them that way. Otherwise, I'll just do one of these for the group. All right, friends, have a safe night, stay warm out there, and we will talk to you soon.